Okay. Well, welcome everyone here to our council meeting. We only have one person in the gallery, and that's Derek Melton. That's for you on Zoom. And so we got one councilor's going to come late. The other one hasn't told us. I'm sure he'll be here shortly. But we do have enough to make quorum before us. So I'll call this meeting to order. We have an agenda in front of us. Does anyone want to add or delete anything from the agenda? Councilor Computers?
I'll move the agenda.
Councilor Computers moves the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, we have one delegation, and that's Derek Melton. So we're doing this up for you. Large, it's too small. Secure your food and concern town residents. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Derek's going to be presenting to us, so we usually hold people to about 10 minutes if you can.
That's fine.
But we appreciate you coming and lining up to adjust to the part.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Go ahead.
Do I speak
You can sit because they can't see you anyway, but you got to speak loud so they can hear you.
through there?
Just they can the right straight.
Okay. So my name is Derek Melton. I run a program called Secure Your Food. Secure Your Food's mission is to provide options and opportunities for everyday people to access and acquire nutritious foods that will maintain or increase their health. So basically, we've done an assessment of the conventional food system, and we've seen that there are deficiencies that occur within the food system that result in inequities for people who are vulnerable populations. So those are people who are experiencing poverty, those who are experiencing old age, or even mobility issues or disability. So basically, we do a number of things. We do community research, we do advocacy, we also do systems designs, and we're also working on projects across the southern Alberta region, all with the purpose of reducing food insecurity. Most of our work right now is going on projects on the blood reserve, and prior to the pandemic, we were actually going across the border into Montana, along with some of the elements there, looking to reduce our food insecurity. So we've taken a systems perspective of what the food system is doing, and then we've applied a disaster management aspect to it. Now what I mean by that is that we treat food insecurity as a hazard, and then we look at ways to mitigate it and how to improve that situation. So you can go to the next. Yes, next one. So we've looked at some of the resources that are available to people in the town of Raymond here. One of them is the little free pantries. Part of my experience goes to basic needs relief given in the city of Calgary with the Community Resource Bonus, Community Resource Center. And part of my job was to go to the food banks, pick up food that was available, and take it back to the agency to distribute for relief. So one of the things that I noticed is that fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables and meats were often not available. What we had available to us were mostly canned goods and whatnot. So during my time there, that idea kind of sat in my mind as how this type of diet is not really healthy for people. It's meant to address hunger, but it's not meant to address nutrition. So since that time in Calgary, I was there at the beginning of the recession. We saw where the need was not that great, but then as the months began to roll by with the recession, we began to see an exponential need in relief, food relief. Now, unfortunately, some of the donations that came from corporations also dried up as well. And so the funding that we were receiving back then began to increase beyond what they could provide. So then they began to prioritize families with children rather than getting everyone they can access. And so that is something that is ongoing right now. So we know that food bank use has increased and that the need has also increased. So one of the reasons why we're experiencing issues with the food system is that simply climate change and how we view climate change is how it's expressed itself in the food production globally. And that has to do with extreme weather events. So using insurance data, we've been able to look at and kind of illustrate why food production is going to become an issue. So this map here is a crop loss map due to extreme weather events. Extreme weather events is whether that is extreme in nature or whether that occurs out of season, so like frost or freezing rains or snow and whatnot. So, and the next one is the current map as of 2021. Now, extreme weather events are beginning to affect global crop production globally, and it is a major concern of ours for the reason that most of our produce, our fresh fruits and vegetables, are coming out of country. So going back to extreme weather events, this is a nice line graph, and it shows almost like an almost exponential growth in disaster events worldwide. Next. So depending on what category you're looking at a 200 to 400% increase in events worldwide. And this is gathered from insurance data here, and the next one is the most current data that we have so far. So with these graphs, we're able to look at and see that there is no stabilization with the trends that we're looking at right now. And when the program had started, this was the Canada Food Price Index at that time. And then going back to last year, 2019, pre-pandemic, that rate has gone up. So that was pre-pandemic. Currently, that rate stands at 1%. But as I mentioned in one of the points before, those metrics do not reflect reality. So if you were able to take out the extra categories that don't include foods like fresh fruits, vegetables, and meats, you're going to find that that rate is actually 6%. So next one, please. This is our looking at in 2015 article. They described a decline in wheat production in Canada, and then with our looking at the tables, we've seen a gradual decline in wheat production across Canada as well. Now, just to give you a little bit of context about the global population and supply issues, we're supposed to reach 9 billion people by 2050. And in order to feed that amount of people, we have to double current food production to do that. So whatever food production we have right now, we have to decline. We have to double it. But with extreme weather events occurring across the globe, extreme drought, winds, that kind of thing, is actually resulting in a decrease of production. So the orange line is the production. The dotted line is utilization, or what the world is using as a global. And then the bars are what we are storing after the harvest is done. And that is very troubling to us. And that the pressure and the need for food is going to continue to grow. And if you understand how the food is grown, or how the food is produced here, actually not here, but how it's come to us, mainly from the southern United States, Mexico, and Central America, then it shows an extreme vulnerability for us should something happen in terms of transportation or extreme weather events. And we're actually seeing that happen right now with the droughts, the super droughts happening in the Southwest and in Mexico and Central America. Okay, next one. Next one. So just quickly going here, the food system has struggled to adapt to these type of conditions. And the Center for Naval Analysis provides intelligence and intelligence analysis to the U.S. Navy. And they hosted a gameplay where they had government officials, industry stakeholders, and international NGOs gameplay their responses over a 10-year period from 2020 to 2030 with 2 food crises. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out well for the first round of food crisis because everyone was mostly reactive to the food crisis. But by the end of the second round, they were all working together. And since that time, we have not actually seen any change to accommodate that type of scenario. So that is very concerning to us, something that we looked at and understand that government and industry is not set up to help us out so far. Now, the cause of the extreme weather events, and there was a study done by the Lloyd's of London, their insurance people, who have been in the business for over 300 years. But basically, they looked at what could cause a food price spike and what would happen in that scenario. So basically, they told the industry to prepare for shocks to the food system as a result of climate change, extreme weather events. And so it leads us to what happens when food does spike in prices. So this is the Belmar article, which found a correlation between social unrest and rising food prices. If you recall the Arab Spring during that time, it was wrongly assumed that that people wanted to adopt democracy, but it was simply corn prices had been, a large portion of corn prices was diverted into ethanol production in the United States, and that caused a worldwide food price spike in staple prices for corn, and corn is an important product in the Middle East. And it went beyond what people could afford, and as a result, they're asserting that people overthrew their governments because they weren't able to provide the basic needs for them. Now, currently, the pandemic kind of illustrated the vulnerabilities that we have within our food systems. We've seen shortages happen, we've seen price spikes happen, and as a result, they've put together a grand plan for you and me to eat certain things. No more reliance on meat products, more of a reliance on bugs and bug protein, other type of what they call superfoods, lab-grown foods that some of the critics say that are not actually very healthy for people. And if anything, one of the things that we talk about is food sovereignty, where people from a certain region are able to access the foods that they are used to, that their genetics are used to. So say, for example, with the Native Americans here, they were used to a diet of buffalo, berries, that kind of thing, but they could forage on the prairies here. But then when the Western diet was introduced to them, they began to experience levels of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and whatnot. And that is that the data indicates that it may simply be due to diet, that we're not used to those type of foods. So just for that, the World Economic Forums, what they want to do is they want to institute a global diet for everyone, which does not include cultural content, and it's also something that is not, we believe, not good for people. Okay, sorry. So from that perspective, we believe that any type of food systems, even gardening, is a strategic resource for people. 2 generations ago, we were growing our own food. Right now, we rely on going to the superstore, to Walmart, or even other places like that. The way the food gets here to us, the quality of the food that gets to us is not good for us in the long run. So we kind of liken it as we're all hikers, and we go at the speed of the slowest person in society. So what we want to do is we want to increase the health of people by having them access their own foods. And part of that is through community gardens, to kind of get that interest back to people as a way of showcasing growing efforts. So we've approached the town and asked about starting a community garden. We propose a partnership between the community gardens committee that we will set up and between the town. So what we're asking of the town, you can go on this one. What we're asking, well, sorry, I'll go back to this. We propose a phased development for the community gardens. Should it be amenable to the Raymond Community Garden Committee, if they will adopt what we propose in planning for the community gardens, a phased development. Phase one would be the establishment of the raised garden beds. Phase two would be the establishment of an orchard, which is fruit-bearing trees, bushes, and perennial foods like asparagus, garlic, rhubarb, that kind of thing. And then phase three also is like the establishment of supporting systems for that garden. So the garden beds that we're designing are unlike something that most other community gardens do not use. We've been involved with community gardens across the southern Alberta region. We've been observant of what they grow, how they grow, and what problems could happen. And we have been studying the problem, looking at what we can do to ensure productive growth. So this garden bed design is meant to be resilient. It's also drought resistant, and it's also productive. It also gives us the ability to extend the season. But with some of our systems, we also hope to make it year-round, especially during winter. And some of the materials that we use, we also make it hardy, very hardy. Instead of using woods, we propose to use concrete panels that will last for 50 to 100 years, and they cost less than wood, the price of what wood is right now. So along with the bed design, it makes it, and with the way that we are setting up the systems that we hope that will be adopted by the committee, that it will result in efficient use of the water, efficient use of the resources based on our designs. So this partnership between the Raymond Community Garden, we hope, is that we hope that the town of Raymond would provide land and water. So security food will essentially create a committee that is able to manage and oversee the community gardens. And we hope that security food will have a presence there. But being that our mission is to create food systems that are resilient, adaptable, and accessible for everyone, this is what we hope to do within the town of Raymond. That's it.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
I got some questions. I'm sure some of you have some questions too. So is this committee going yet?
No.
So it will be going, so you're not looking for this year. Is it too late for this year?
No, yes, it will probably be too late for this year. We hope to get the ball rolling with starting the committee. We were waiting on whether the town would approve it or not.
Because it's a great idea. In North Lethbridge, you see the little garden spot there as you go by on 43rd and turn to go to Walmart. There.
Yes.
There's a community garden there. It's a great idea. Are you talking about a lot of land, or those round things, or the square cement things? Is it
what we're proposing is a 4x8, so that's an easy enough bed that a person can take care of.
Okay, interesting. So, do you have any thoughts of where in town, or just we find some town land that's available and get back to you?
Yes. We've been talking with town administration, and they've shown us a couple places there, and then we were waiting on permission from council to engage even more, and then with the creation of the garden committee, they would figure out the relationship from that point. But we would secure if it would essentially get the ball rolling and organizing everything.
I'm just speaking for myself. I think it's a great idea. I was raised on gardens. We still have a garden. So I think gardens are great. Just having those fresh vegetables like you're talking it's fun to grow them and have them.
Mhm.
It's good. Councillor Harker, you have a comment?
Derek, I absolutely love the whole idea and I love the direction that you're going with this, and I disagree with, the world powers that think, yeah, we're gonna eat some sort of simulated food or whatever. I love the whole idea of sustaining people in the regions that they're in. I just wanna make you aware that the Healthy Communities Committee has a natural playground that they're doing next to the elementary school, where they're gonna have some deep beds, and they're planting several, like they're planting fruit trees, berries, that sort of thing. So that would be, somebody that you would want a partnership. Also, Healthy Communities has Rebecca Bissett, who has already started a community garden. It's just in the back of her grandmother's home right now, and then we did have some people that did a community garden last year. So, those people, you should really gather up those people, because I'm sure they would absolutely love this idea. I think it's a fabulous idea. I'm all over it. I think we need to find a place and make this happen for next year, and I commend what you're doing. It's fabulous.
So first, Councillor Harker, you sit on that board, the Healthy
Healthy Communities Initiative, I'm on that board, yes.
And that's something maybe you could try to help Derek with his, maybe.
Yeah, Rebecca Bissett is the one who's in charge of the community garden this year.
Okay, and Councillor Harker is on that committee, so I could help when she says a partnership. Councillor Foth.
Sorry, I also just want to express support for this. I think it's wonderful. Derek and I, we've talked a little bit about food security issues in Raymond. And I'm involved in the Pantry program, which addresses sort of crisis food, but it doesn't provide a lot of healthy food. And so I think this would be a good complement to that program. And so I think whatever we can do to support and encourage us along in support of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we are all in agreement with this. We want to, we'll have to bring it up at one of our future committee meetings. Dave, if you can have that down, and we can talk about a spot, a place to try to do it for you, with access to raw water, not expensive from the town water. And I think it'd be a great, I think we all want to see that happen. Any other comments or questions for Derek? If not, we really appreciate you coming. This was really good.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can make it work and see some gardens in the future.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councilors, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Derek. Awesome.
Very good presentation. Okay. So point 4.1, approval of the council minutes from June 1st. Next, yeah. Everybody had a chance to look at these?
I move the council minutes from June the 1st, Mayor.
Okay, any discussion from them? And all in favor? Good. The council committee minutes from June 8th. We need a motion to approve them.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the council committee.
Councilor Foss, any discussion on these? If not, all in favor? Good. Items for discussion, 6.1, special meeting of council for a public hearing on June 22nd. Looks like someone made a mistake on the calendar thinking that was the council meeting. I take it in. So yeah, there's 5 Tuesdays, so I just missed it by one. Everybody understand what they're asking here, that we have a motion to have a special meeting on the 22nd, so we can have this public hearing? Councilor Peters?
I'll make that motion that we have that special meeting, public hearing on June 22nd.
Okay, special meeting for this public hearing, okay, good. Everybody okay with that? Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Good. Okay. Lots of good notes there, Dave.
Yeah.
6.2, the bylaw 901-03, the open burning. The second reading. Again, some good shared notes and some emails we received. What's everybody's take on this?
So this is the version that was approved for first reading
That's
at
the
last
first-
council meeting. I have suggested some administrative changes to the bylaw since that meeting, and I attached that below. Maybe it's better to pull that one up. Or whatever.
And I like them. I think they're all good changes.
Want to go over the changes with us just to make sure we.
For sure. So we got some feedback, concerns about wind speeds. And one of the main changes here, you'll see we crossed out cooking of food because that wording is probably a little awkward. It makes it look like you can't have a fire in your backyard unless you're cooking food, right? So we just put burning, which opens it up. You can be cooking food, you can just be having a social fire in an enclosed fire pit. On private property, of course, we also put a change to have propane supplied as the fuel source. And after speaking to the fire chief, he suggested wind gusts not to exceed 40 kilometers. The reading that was approved 2 weeks ago was 50 kilometers. And the Joint Fire Committee met, and the fire chief said 50 kilometers is just way too high. And once again, we're not trying to put onerous restrictions on people. This is a safety recommendation. And it is something that these provisions will be complaint driven. And it's not about getting more fine revenue or anything like that. It is legitimately a public safety issue. So that's why these all these changes are suggestions from the peace officers and the fire chief out of safety concerns.
Is there any more, or is that?
I
I'm
think
just watching yours.
I think that's the extent of it.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilor Computers, go ahead.
The other day I was uptown and Chief Holt was there and he and I had a discussion about this proposed bylaw and amendments. And really came down to the idea that there was trying to be protections for people and neighbors in town that like what Dave said, this is not going to be, we're going to set peace officers after people to try and find somebody making a mistake. This isn't going to be something designed to bring in funds for the town of Raymond. This is completely in the name of safety. And when it comes to fire chief providing recommendations, he spoke about when they monitor the fireworks, and if the fireworks are over, if the wind speeds are over 40 kilometers an hour, they're unable to do fireworks based on the safety protocols that they have to follow. So I think there needs to be something written in there, but I think people need to understand that like Dave said, this is going to be based on complaints that come from neighbors, that no one's going to be checking on people, that wind speeds will be measured using apps that have been designed for cell phones and other devices. That this is just there to protect neighbors from getting something out of control.
Yeah, it's interesting how some people think that we just want to be in control. We're not trying to be in control. We're trying to have a safe environment for people to be and to live and to have fun. Anyone else have a comment? Councillor Harker?
Well, you, in this environment that we're in right now, you can understand why people would have a little bit of pushback. My comment is, now the 40 kilometers an hour, I mean, 40 kilometers at your house might not be the same as 40 kilometers at my house. Cause my patio has a big huge wall that shelters it. You know what I'm saying? So again, I mean, I do read F where it says, the peace officers by law enforcement, they have the right to shut down a fire if it's deemed unsafe. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line, right? I mean, if they deem it unsafe, but I think if they came to my house, even if the wind was blowing, there's not wind blowing where I have my fire. Do you understand what I'm saying?
For sure.
So I just wanna make sure that, they don't become too officious and, like, oh, I saw on Facebook that Harker's had a fire last night and I think the wind was over 40 kilometers, let's, throw them under the bus or, you know what I'm saying? I just don't wanna open a big huge can of worms where you got the neighbors telling on you because you had a fire and their app said that the wind was more than 40 kilometers an hour. So
Do
if it's at the discretion of the peace officers, I mean, is this a guideline and then it's at the discretion of the peace officers? That's what I'm asking.
That's what I would say, cause it's, I think sometimes we make a mountain out of a molehill, there's, if somebody's gonna have a fire and there's gonna be some big gusts coming up, they should be wanting to get it out. And neighbors are worried it's gonna burn down their house,
Exactly.
then maybe.
I mean, it really all comes down to common sense, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of that anymore, which is unfortunate, or we wouldn't have to have all these,
That's true too.
bylaws, right? Just common sense.
Councillor From's got a comment.
I was just gonna say, it's not, it's a bylaw, but when we say it's complaint driven, it's like if somebody feels threatened or if somebody feels, harmed by your smoke or whatever, then they can complain. But if they just call to rat somebody out, then the RCMP and the peace officers are not gonna respond to that. That's not the problem. If your fire is bothering somebody, then they'll come and investigate it, but not just because somebody says Harkers are having a fire. You know what I mean?
Or they're worried.
If they're worried it's been spent in their house, or the smoke is really bothering their kids or whatever, then it's gonna be, that's the complaint driven.
And that's what I'm hoping
Yeah.
for, Councillor Fromm, that's what I'm hoping.
Not designed to rat each other out at all. And, I just wanted to say, like I was one that proposed we go back up to 50 kilometers per hour, because I was thinking, we'll never have a fire if we wait for a 30 kilometer per hour day. But the other week we had a bonfire at my house, and we had been working on this bylaw, and I said to Barbara, gee, maybe we shouldn't. I mean, it's pretty gusty out there. I checked my app, and it was like 22 kilometers per hour, and I was worried about the fire already. I mean, seriously, a 40 kilometer per hour gust is pretty gusty. So I'm glad that the fire chief, met us halfway, because I think that 30 is probably a little too strict. And if it's gusting to 50 kilometers per hour, I don't want to have a fire in my backyard, anywhere near my house. That's pretty strong winds. I was surprised to see that it was only 22 kilometers per hour on my phone. So I think 40 is good, but again, it's complaint driven. If the RCMP or the peace officers come over and say, I think this is a dangerous fire, then I hope everybody will just say, you know what, I'm putting it out. So, I mean, they're going to have to say so. And they won't wield it, unrighteously or over strictly or any other way. It'll just be common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah.
So actually, if the wind is at 40, they're not gonna be coming. They're gonna be coming when it's at 50.
And they're still not going to come. They're not going to
Unless
come
someone phones.
unless somebody phones. Yeah.
Feels threatened.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody understand this?
Not designed to stop bonfires in backyards. We want people to recreate in their yards.
I thought we had some good comments that were sent to us, and I thought Abe handled them well. And I missed that meeting with our fire chief. Councillor Fromm and Councillor Peters were both there, so
Yep.
you got his feedback on that.
Yep, it was excellent feedback too.
So, does anyone want to make a motion then for this second reading?
I will move. Go ahead, Joan.
I will make a motion for second reading on this bylaw,
Okay.
the fire.
Any more discussion from anyone?
just to say again, I like the amendments. I think that input from citizens was timely
Yeah,
and it was accurate. I like that.
I think so too.
They're just little things that I never thought of, so I'm in favor of the amendments.
Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It was unanimous. So 6.2.1, third reading of this open burning.
Can I move that?
Just one comment first. Maybe we should table this, just to let it go back to the public to see if they're happy with what we're doing on the second reading. That's my thoughts. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? We had some good feedback. I sure hope some other people will give us some feedback. Councilor Peters?
I'm good either way, whether we make a motion or we table it. Are we in a rush for this at all, to get this out? I know we're getting into summer and we haven't had this in place before, so I'm good either way.
I am too, but I think the amendments that Abe has suggested administratively capture everything that I read from the input.
But the good thing about putting it out, that people have an opportunity to comment,
Yeah,
and
that never hurts.
say we like it, or we don't like it, or have you thought about this too? Something like this it has some feedbacks.
Sure, I'm good either way too.
Are you okay with that? Does someone want to make a motion to table like that? The third reading for 2 weeks? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
No, I'm not in favor of, I don't love tabling motions when it could be done.
So that's the other thing. We won't have another council meeting until the third week of July. Does that stop people from?
It just means that they have to operate under the old bylaw, which I think if we change it and it matches community input, we're smarter to do it today than
Yeah,
to.
you're right. I wasn't thinking about all the time. Okay.
So can I make a motion for third reading?
Councilor From's going to make the motion for third reading of this bylaw 901-03.
Councilor Foss, is that okay? You were gonna make a motion or a comment?
Sorry, no, I was only going to, considering move to table, but I reconsidered based on the timing of our this meeting, so I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, good.
We can always not go ahead with motion item 6.4. That was meant as a joke, but I think it's.
We're all looking at that thinking, what's
I had to look at it
happening?
first. The number didn't ring a bell.
We don't like your jokes. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor then, for this open burning. Bylaw 901-3 will be finalized. So any other comments or discussion? I'll call for the vote, all in favor? Okay, good. We'll move to 6.3, bylaw 976-10, the waste management, second reading. Abe, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so we did have first reading a couple of weeks ago. And we advertised to the public, and we did not have any feedback of the changes to the bylaw. So it's on the agenda tonight for second and third reading. And this is the big change here. There's a couple other little administrative changes, referring to the current fees and charges bylaw where there are fees, and a couple other minor changes. This is the big one here to permit salvaging.
I just want to throw in, I was at a person's home the other night, and they had built a whole lot of stuff from wood they had salvaged from our transfer station. Wood is expensive right now. People are throwing things away and they're going and salvaging it. He wanted to know what was going on, and I told him it wasn't scavenging, it was salvaging. I think it's great too that we still allow them, but it's only permitted when we have attendance there, so we have to check in. Councilor Peters.
Yeah, I think we've covered this really well. We provided people with the opportunity to come and pick up things that they will have a need or a use for. It limits how much we end up having to send to transfer station site and the spring coulee dump site. So I think it kind of works both ways here, and I propose to have the second reading here of bylaw 97610, the waste management bylaw.
Good. Any other discussion on this motion made by Councilor Capitas? Councilor Fong?
Just a comment, I think when we limited or did away with scavenging, there was a strong reaction to that. So I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that people watching this and the fact that that there was no written input, maybe we got it right. I hope so. I think it is it's good and it does match, the feedback that we got last time we tried to get rid of it.
Great. I agree. Councilor Harker?
I totally agree with having this read this way because it seems kind of counterproductive to have all our recycling bins for cardboard and all that sort of thing, and yet people can't recycle good items that other people have thrown away. It just seems very counterintuitive to me, so I really like how we're moving forward with this because I think it's a great idea. It shows actual, responsibility on our part, in my estimation.
Good point. I agree with you. Okay, we have the motion. Any other discussion? And all in favor? Very good. 6.3.1, third reading of bylaw 976-10. Somebody want to make that motion? Councilor Fong wants to.
I do, but I want to add one more thing. I have a very good person who just texted me and said there's a grammar error in 40D. Can we just look at that real quick? And then, so page 5, 40D, salvagers must check in with the transfer station attendee each visit and sign an agreement that they will comply with the following. 1, 2, 3, and 4, park in the designated parking area to avoid congestion and safety issues. I think that may be it, to avoid safety issues. No, that's okay. No salvaging in the transport station building, no salvaging in recycling bins. Salvaging e-waste will only be permitted if you clean up after yourself. Failure to do so will result in losing this privilege. Brent, could you be more specific? Is it the comma or is it the to avoid safety issues? Grammar error in 40D. I don't see it. Does anyone see it?
I don't, but we can look
We
it
can
over.
make that change.
We can clean that up,
yeah.
If it's not like a substantive change, it's a grammar issue, we can I'll make sure.
Good. Won't change the flavor of the motion at all.
No.
So I will move third reading.
Okay, we have, someone just sent in.
First line, salvaging is permitted under the following guidelines. No, D, salvagers must check in with the transportation attendee each visit and sign an agreement that they will comply with the following.
Okay, well,
We'll clean that up.
Abe's gonna clean that up, so. We
Thank
have a
you.
motion on the floor for third reading. Any other discussion? And all in favor? Okay, good. Councillor Hagee has now arrived.
Okay.
At 6.4. July 6th council meeting, cancellation of it. This is something we started, was it last year or the year before? But we sure like it, right? So, we're doing this just because it gets hard on us too. We're pretty busy people too, so it's nice to have a council meeting canceled 6 months after Christmas. Anybody want to make a motion on this? Councilor Harper?
I'll move that we cancel July 6th council meeting.
Okay, good. Any discussion? Okay. I'll call for the vote then. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous with Councilor Hagee too. 6.5, the Fraternal Order of Eagles. We discussed this last week in committee. Anybody have any different thoughts from what we decided last week?
I like the idea.
Can somebody go over what we decided, because I wasn't really sure what we decided last week, because we discussed a couple of things. So what was the,
If I remember right, I think we decided to do exactly what they asked for, that, give them a refund of 4,000, and that leaves them 2,000 to be paying their bills, and 2,000 will be a donation. We want that donation to be in the town of Raymond. They said the handy bus. We hope it would be the handy bus or something else.
I think that's a good cause.
I think that's all we.
thanks, I just wanted to clarify that, that's what I thought, but I wasn't positive.
That's just my memory. Is anybody else?
I think that's how we discussed it and decided on that.
We talked about different prices, but we decided to go with the 4,000 and the 2,000. So everybody's okay with that? We need a motion. Councilor Peters?
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we provide tax relief for the Fraternal Order of Eagles based on our discussions.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just that it's according to the request in one time, right?
It's a one time. Sure.
I know that's intended, but maybe it just needs to be stated.
Okay.
And I think it's wonderful because they've been a really great addition to our community, so we do want to help them in any way that we can, I feel.
I agree. I've talked to a few of the members and they want to help in Raymond. They want to continue not just with the handy bus, but with other things as well, once they get up and going again.
For sure. That's
So
what
they're going to be a great asset to our town.
just like the Rotarians.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. And I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Okay, good. 6.6, organizational structure approval. This must be you, Curtis.
Yeah, just as we discussed last week, there was a recommendation from administration to bring on some additional support capacity roles within the town of Raymond organization. And so what we're asking for permission, which is reflected in this organizational structure, would be to post for 4 positions at some point throughout the year. One would be a financial services manager to help with the all the Raymond Strategic Initiatives teams, which is on the second page, financial contracts that we host and provide services for, as well as helping with the transition and organizational structural capacity as we have employees transition in and out of the organization in the next few years. 2 would be 2 administrative assistant 1 positions, which would provide organizational support to the legislative services department as well as the community development department. And then a 3rd one would be to actually, we had an employee leave our organization recently within the community services department, and we're looking just to replace that position, but have it at an operator level instead of at the classification that it was previously. And so that's not a new position as far as a new body, but it's a new position or classification that we're utilizing. And so just wanting that to be very clear so that if the public sees or council gets questions from the public, that there at some point will be 4 postings going out, 4 positions, either internal or external, added to the organization.
So to get this straight, it's a new spot for a financial services manager and a community services assistant, and then 1 in operations, correct?
One, an admin assistant within community development, an admin assistant within legislative services, and an admin assistant, or a laborer within, or sorry, an operator within community services.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a few people talking to me about looking at our audit report and how we've cut back over $1 million in what we pay to our employees, and they thought that was very commendable. But it's hard to operate on a reduced staff, is what I've told them, so that's why we're trying to to fill some holes that we may have, or making people having to work a little bit too hard. Which I know people won't have a lot of sympathy for that, but I think we do. Okay, everybody understand this? We need a motion then to approve this organizational structure.
And actually, and maybe I'll just say for clarification and for those listening, with the changing of past employees that have left the organization recently and the new ones that we're bringing in, the net cost to the town will only be an additional $34,000 approximately. So we're adding about 3 positions for $34,000 net additional cost to the town. So it's a fairly prudent use of resources and capacity supports. It's not going to be a significant tax burden to the organization.
That's good add, thank you. So did we get a motion on this? Councilor Hickey, that's right.
I'll move that we accept the organizational structure approval as been presented.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Good. 6.7, the 2022 Southern Alberta Summer Games. Curtis.
We've been discussing this a little bit over time. We were supposed to host in 2020, and that's when COVID hit. And Clarisholm, I believe, was going to host in 2021, and they also have deferred. So it is ours for the taking, effectively, if we would like to host for 2022. Administratively, we've discussed it internally, and we are very much in support of putting in a request for a bid for 2022 again. Not even a bid, it would just letting the Southern Alberta Summer Games Society know that we would like to host in 2022. We would recommend that if we do this, that we obviously send a letter to the county first requesting their support as a partner, equal partner within this contributing member within this venture, and then wait and hear what they say and then submit. But regardless, I think administratively we feel that with COVID ending, the impact on our businesses over that time, bringing people to the community in a sizable number, utilizing all of our facilities, showcasing them, the maturity of them, the beach volleyball complex is finally finished, and some of the other finishing touches that have gone onto those facilities would be a great way to showcase them and have these events and organizations see the amenities we have so that we can host further groups and tournaments, which again brings people to the community that support the gas stations, the restaurants, the pharmacies, the Merc, and any other hardware store, and any other business we have. And so we feel that this would be very prudent and an exciting thing to do. The overall cost to the town is about $100,000, and a lot of that is offset through grants. And so depending upon what we are able to bring in, we anticipate the cost being in that $40,000 to $60,000 cost to the organization. But again, we do feel there's value. So if council is amenable to that, we'd just be looking for a motion directing us to reach out to the county with a letter and say, this is what we'd like to do for 2022, we'd like your support, and then wait and see what they say, and then depending on what they say, send the letter to the Southern Alberta Summer Games Society, letting them know that we would like to host in 2022, if you're in support of that direction.
Okay. I think we've talked about this before, but Councilor Hickey, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'll make that motion if, unless you want to have more discussion about it.
We'll get
I think it's a great event, for the town. I think that it brings in more money than what it actually costs for the community zone. I don't know how many athletes it'd be, but it'd be a few thousand athletes over a 4-year period. That, with down the stuff that come town, spend money in our town, all the different little businesses. And if you could tell it that up somehow, I'm sure it, like balance off with what it actually costs to put it on. So I think it's a great thing to do for the town. I like to do it every 5 years.
Okay, good. I think Curtis, the way you worded that was perfect. We want to talk to the county first. I think that's great. That's the motion that's Councilor Hickey's putting forward. Councilor Peters?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I like what Curtis said about let's make sure to reach out to our partners in the county, let them know that we're looking for some help and being a contributor. I think within that, we need to make sure we have our wayfinding signs done and just clean up a few of those other items that will make it easier for people as they come in town to be able to locate some of our amenities we have and to be able to, contribute to the community in ways that help spend money and support our businesses. So I think it's a good idea.
Wayfinding will be installed before the end of August.
Okay, good. No comments? Any other discussion? I'll call, Councillor Foss.
Sorry, I was only just gonna add that this revives some of the momentum that we had before COVID, was hosting these types of events. This is our tourism opportunity, is hosting events. It's great.
Good point. Yeah, we all know that, but we didn't say it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Any other discussion? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? No easy bunch tonight. 6.8, the Raymond Green Strip Enhancement Society. You can see there's a nice letter already written. Anytime anybody wants to have a society so they can approach the government for some grant money to further our money along, we have to support it. We need to support it. Any thoughts on this? Someone want to make a motion on this one? Councilor Fromm,
I like the support
this is great.
and the initiatives that are being taken by research and happy to support them.
For sure,
We can't expect people in our community to help out if we don't support them.
for sure. Okay, any other discussion?
Just Mayor Depute, before you leave, if you could sign those.
For sure.
Thank you.
We'll have to make the motion first. All in favor? Okay, now you can bring them to. 6.9, the Highway 845 and Railway Avenue Exchange. This is interesting.
It is very interesting.
I like what it's doing, really. I don't like that they're making us pay a little bit more money, but I think that's a really good idea what we're doing here on the sewer section.
It's just gonna allow that east side of 845 to open up for industrial. And having that, that intersection, we turn it off and then go down to Silver or something.
But it's a safety concern
Yeah.
too,
For sure.
and like you said, opens up the industrial. Councilor Capiters.
Yeah, I echo what was just said. Went for a drive this week and drove up down the highway, then drove down that one township road, and I think this is going to be a need for future development. And I'll be bringing some information regarding the transfer station to the committee meeting next week, and whether it's going to be a few years or later on, I think there's going to be some movement when we deal with some different amenities we have, and this provides us with some options in the future.
It begs the question of whether we're gonna put a traffic circle there. Is it gonna be just four-way stop or what?
Oh man, I never even thought of that.
Traffic circle would just be great. Ask me and Curtis about that.
It'd be the perfect
awesome.
place to put our first traffic circle.
It would be.
Of course,
It would
it's on a
be
highway, so.
every
Let's go
time we
for
go
that.
to Lethbridge, we drive down the one by the college, you know.
Cities with the super Bs are gonna have a hard time.
That's not the honest.
It'll just be a,
On a highway.
845 will have flow through traffic, Railway Avenue, and out of sight will be stop signs.
So we just stops.
Who brought that up? Councilor Fromm?
I said we need to defer that comment.
But I do support the traffic circles, as you know.
Okay. We need a motion we accept this, Councilor Capiters?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just a quick question, this Eagle Engineering Corporation, that's Alberta Transportation's engineering? They did this, not us, right?
It's an engineering firm that won the tender for the 845 project. And
Okay.
so they're based out of Bright Creek, actually, I believe. And so they're working on this project. Wild Brothers Engineering in town has been subcontracted through them to work on the drainage. for the 845 project. But yes, this is their sketch, is their design. Alberta Transportation owns the Treed property just east of, or where this road will go, and so it will be part of the cleanup of that site. And yes, there is an additional cost, Mary Peter, you're right, but I think they're not, they're happy to let us defer and not do anything. But for the town's perspective, it would cost us far more to base that entire road out, and it's not a transportation thing, it's an our thing. And so they've really stepped up to the plate at Alberta Transportation and their willingness to help us in this, and so it's stretching our dollars far further than if we had to do it on our own, so.
And I was just wondering, are we just rubber stamping this, but this was a presentation that we can turn down if we want to, is that
You
correct?
100% could. I wouldn't recommend it administratively, but it's totally in your purview, and absolutely, if you felt that it wasn't appropriate, then yes, you could.
And I don't want to, I just was wondering if we were just rubber stamping something that Alberta Transportation's already done, foregone conclusion on.
No, they requested input. I did say that there's a high likelihood that we would be approval of it based on what I felt council would say, but I wanted to bring it to you first for official approval.
Okay, thanks.
So we've already had the motion, right? Okay, we'll move on. Number 7, committee reports.
Mayor,
Councilor Peters?
did we vote on that? I made the motion, but I don't think I voted on
Did
it.
I not vote on it?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm getting old. All in favor? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports.
Good job.
June 15th, committee reports. Those that submitted reports, they're interested in reads. I just want to go back to mine a little bit, Curtis. Have you heard about these working groups that AHS has put forward? I hadn't.
It doesn't come to my memory. I can't say that I didn't get an email talking about it, but I don't recall hearing anything about a working group, but that's definitely something we can participate in. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
If either you or Abe could reach out to that email address there so we can see what they're talking about. During the Zoom meeting, Mayor Barnett asked me if I had heard anything about it. I hadn't heard anything about working groups. If there's working groups out there that we can try to help our AHS system with how we feel in Raymond and the other communities, we want to be involved. So,
Yeah, we can look into that.
okay, if you would, please. Any other comments on any other?
No, but I have a report that I didn't get sent in,
Okay,
very short. We met as a Regional Public Safety Services Committee, last week. We had a auditor present a clean audit report of our financial statements for year 2020, which is good. And Sergeant Bond, he presented all the statistical reports for all the different communities. I think he emailed everybody one for Raymond, so I know a couple of you talked to me about them and stuff. After that, we discussed the rates that we charge McGrath, the contract rates. Right now, it's $125 an hour, and what we're looking for starting September 1st is to we originally said up at the 150, but what we want is we want them to commit to 100 hours, at $130 an hour. And then anything over the 100 hours would be $150 an hour. And the reason for that is because, well, one, the cost of fuel is 30 cents a liter more than it was last year. Being $1.27, so they just cost more money to go there to service that down. But the 100 hours, maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's if they don't use 100 hours, they still pay that 100 hours. So we're guaranteed $13,000 from them. So if they only use 75 hours of it, they still pay that 13,000. Is that how we're? Yeah. And everything over the 100 hours would be $150 an hour instead of 125.
so what were they paying before?
$125 an hour, but
No, but as a flat rate,
no property.
no, before, years before. You're talking about McGrath, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was like a couple years ago, like before they made a part of the commission.
Right.
It was up around 45 to 50,000.
So they're saving themselves over 50%.
Big savings. Any usage tax, like is a hundred hours typical in a year?
Well, last year they didn't use as much, but they've already used more this year than they did all last year.
That's
So I think it's gonna be a considerable amount more. Last year, Sergeant Blanc said that, he said it's kind of our fault, we didn't charge them for the whole time. But he says now we're charging from the time we get that phone call from Raymond, our travel time and everything, before they're just charging for the time that they were actually in the ground. But now we're gonna charge the whole time, so that's why the hours is gonna be considerable higher this year.
So I wonder if we're being too good to them still. So they opt out and then they want back in this way and
Yeah. I don't know,
they're still paying way less.
I would still like to see it more than $100 an hour, but I don't know.
Well, you can't blame them. I mean, that's a smart move on their part.
Yeah, it was,
They're
they're
going
saving
from
money,
40,000 to 50,000 down to 13,000,
but, financially they're saving money, but also they're not getting near the coverage that they used to get either, right?
So what do
It's
they
just a
do?
on-call basis now.
So they have a bylaw problem and they just phone up and call them over and they go over and deal with it?
Yeah.
And give them a 14-day notice?
But it's the same way they do here, but they're charging for the whole time now, so. Well, like financially, yeah, they're saving a few $1,000s, but like you said, they're not getting any day-to-day coverage.
So I guess in a year's time, I guess we need to see how it works.
Yeah.
And maybe they need to be invited back in, or maybe I just don't want us to be paying all the money for all this. And it's not really, we're getting too sweet of a deal.
Other than that, the only other thing is we approved credit cards for all the police officers, just, the limit's not going up at all. But Sergeant Bond made a good point that right now, if the other two need fuel, they have to find him and get his credit card to get fuel. And, they went to Fast Gas to get a fleet card, and Fast Gas won't give them a fleet card. So, this way, if they're down Milk River, they can get fuel down there if they need it. As of right now, all fuel gets, here with that cost time. If they don't have enough fuel, they have to come back here and get fuel and go again. So this will save time. And like I said, it's just for fuel, it's no, you can't get cash on it or anything like that, so. And the limit hasn't gone up, it's the same as, like, it's accumulated with Sergeant Bond's limit, so. And, that's about it, next meeting's in August. Did I miss anything?
No, you got it.
Good report. It'd be nice if it was written down so we could
It will be next time.
look at it.
It will be next time.
Any other discussion on these reports? Someone's hands up, I can just barely see some hands. Councilor Harker?
That's mine. I wrote half of mine, and then the next half that I wrote very nicely disappeared. I was frustrated and phoned Abe after the whole thing. So I will email it in, but let me tell you this, because it's quite exciting. There was, with the Healthy Communities Coalition, there was a budget item that was approved. There will be a community, well, it's actually it's kind of like a natural park that will be adjacent on the south side of the elementary school. They're partnering with the elementary school. The coalition has some budget money. The elementary school is partnered with them to do some of the work. They're gonna have raised garden beds. They're gonna have Honeycrisp apple trees, edible fruits, bushes. Everything's gonna be au naturel. There's gonna be some different logs and playground items that are gonna be like a natural park. But it's also going to be about health, which is about food. So I thought that was interesting that, so far as what they're doing is gonna be a very good fit in the community. And again, that budget item, because they had some money available and partnered with the elementary school, we're gonna get a pretty good asset, not only for the school children, but for anybody in the community can use that natural park. So it's gonna be And they're starting on it right away.
So where's it gonna be? It's on the south side over by the bike racks?
It's on there's a space between the edge of the school, the south side of the wall of the elementary school that goes out to the fence. So it's gonna be kind of in there and extending a little bit to the east. Yeah, so it's gonna be, yeah, it was a very nice plan. So I'm surprised that they didn't send it to you in some notes. I thought they were sending it to you in notes, but yeah, I'll have to get a copy of that and submit that. A very good idea.
Can I ask what the budget is on it, or is it?
I think we were, the Healthy Communities Initiative, I think it was a budget item of about $6,000 or $7,000. And then the elementary school was contributing in kind, work and other things. They were actually going to do it, so,
I'm excited to see how far that goes.
yeah,
That's awesome, thank you.
really good.
Well, Joan, I've heard some really good feedback about the planters and the plants along Main Street.
Yes,
They're beautiful.
I was just gonna bring that up, I had a bunch of people tell me how much nicer they look than the old grain barrels that
Yeah,
the old barrels are falling apart.
that's a smart move.
and
They're very nice looking.
And they're just gonna
thank
improve.
you,
Yeah.
thank you to the town council for having the foresight to approve all that. And again, thank you for our wonderful beautification committee. They're a really good group. They had a big turnout of volunteers that helped to do all that planting, and they were very well organized and did a great job. We have some good people in our community, for sure.
Amen.
So we need a motion to accept committee reports.
Um,
Councillor Heggie makes that motion, any discussion? All in favor? Good. Correspondence, there's a lot of correspondence here. Does anybody have any they want to talk about specifically?
Mayor Depew, just for everyone's information, I did add, the very bottom item there, Raymond Irrigation District submitted a letter that I received late today regarding the naming of the green strip, and so, I just wanted you to be aware of that, if you guys wanted to address that along with another letter that we received from the Rotary Club, just to make sure they were included at the same time.
I really think this should be brought forward in a next committee meeting, maybe next week, and we can discuss it then. Some things we weren't quite, didn't understand or remember, been brought to our attention, so. Especially the Rotary letter, which I think Curtis and I initially got it, and I sent it to Councillor Foss, and he sent it to everybody, so. If we could have that on the next committee. Anyone else have any others they want to look at? Bring to our attention? See, there's lots more about the RCMP support. So when we sent ours, did it go out to everybody like this, or how did that work?
Yes, it did.
Did it? Very interesting. Okay, we need a motion to accept correspondence. Councillor Fromm? All in favor? Okay, good. Now I'm gonna go into closed, we need a motion to go into closed. Councillor Heggie, all in favor? Okay, we are now in closed. Thank you for tuning in. So we need a motion to come out of closed. Councillor Fromm, all in favor? We now need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Higgy, all in favor? Okay, good,
Good meeting.
thank you.